Hi, I'm Bart Hanson. I'm the owner and lead instructor for CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record live at 2 p.m. Eastern Time every Monday. If you enjoy this video, hit that like button, and if you want to submit to be on the show, take a look at the information in the description.
So
Go
a
ahead.
1-2 hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll get back to your question after we go through the hand or whatever about the larger game.
Okay.
So this is 1-2 at Rounders.
Oh, okay.
And a majority of us are button straddling, making it a 3 blind game. So we're playing shorthanded.
Okay.
I think we're 7-handed this one.
Okay.
And I decided to button straddle for 5, and I have 800 effective.
This is post quarantine, right?
Yes, this is actually just a couple days ago.
Do they cap the players at the table? Is it 9-handed, 8-handed?
It is 8-handed.
It's 8-handed. Okay.
Max.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have to, and at this club, you have to wear a mask.
Okay.
Or if you don't, you have to be in one of the, they call it a social distancing alternative. It's like a bubble that they put you in.
Oh, that's right. I saw a picture of that. Were some people actually playing in the bubble instead of wearing a mask?
Yeah.
You got to give me a picture. You got to send me a picture of that with somebody playing in the bubble.
I'll give you a picture. I got a picture of a young man. He's in the bubble.
Young man won't wear a mask. The Vietnamese guy won't wear a mask. That's hilarious. All right. So 1-2 rounder, 7-handed, button straddle to 5, 800 effective. Okay.
So with the button straddle here, it works a little bit differently. It's action starts still under the gun, and he opens for 15.
All right. So UTG to 15. Yep.
And then action passes the button. It goes after
ultimate last
it folds around.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's ultimate unless there's 2 raises. So if somebody in the field was to raise again, then I would have to act in turn.
Sure.
But nobody did. The small blind calls 15, and then I complete for 10 more with 9 of clubs, 10 of spades.
So under the gun to 15, folds around to the small blind who calls, and you call in the button straddle, last to act with 9-10 off. Okay.
So flop comes out, jack of clubs, 8 of clubs, queen of spades.
By the way, so you flop the nuts. By the way, because I know that some people are going to be, because some people are pre-flop nits, and they're going to be like, oh, I would just fold 9-10 off. This is a situation where Peter is last to act as if he's closing the action in the big blind. There's no one left to act behind him, and he has position. So for you pre-flop nits, you have to look at the situation. Because, you know, sometimes people will say, and I've talked about this before, where I've sort of sometimes advocated making some pretty loose calls on the button to small raises or over limping with like king 7 suited, king 8 suited, hands like that. People are like, fold pre. But they're calling in the big blind with those hands, closing the action, getting a price. In my case is always, I would rather call on the button against non-squeeze happy blinds not getting a price than calling in the big blind getting a price. Here, you've got the best of both worlds in the sense that, obviously you're closing the action and you're on the button. So there's certainly nothing wrong. And I would probably call much more than 3x. I mean, I would probably call with 5x. Obviously, it's not as good because the small blind has called, so it's multi-way, but you do have inevitable position. So you flop the nuts, queen of spades, 8 of clubs, jack of clubs.
Yep.
Okay.
Small blind check. Under the gun leads out for he's 15. It gets to me, and I decide to raise to 50.
Mm-hmm.
Small blind holds out, and then it gets back to the villain who raises to 100.
This is interesting. When you emailed this hand in, I actually thought that you were out of position. So this is going to be a little bit different. I actually thought that you check raised the flop and the guy 3-bet in position. So you have position, small blind checks, guy bets 15, you make it 50. Under the gun, bet 3-bets to 100. And now you're looking at this in a situation where if you call, you have position, the pot's going to be 250. It looks like he's got about 700 left. It's really, this is one of these spots where I might take a live exploit here, and I very well might 3-bet the flop, telling you, to be honest with you, that when I 3-bet the flop, I always have 9-10. So it's wildly unbalanced, because when I 3-bet the under the guns, well, actually, I guess you could say it was a 4-bet. If I'm 4-betting the preflop raiser's 3-bet, meaning if the preflop raiser bets and I raise and the preflop raiser 3-bets and then I 4-bet, I always have the nuts. That's definitely a wildly unbalanced thing. But in this case, I'm a little bit concerned possibly that you may have some action card killers coming. Honestly, I think if you were deeper, I definitely would 4-bet. Here,
I think so.
When you're only 800 deep, when you're only 800 deep and you call, even if action card killers come and he checks, like, you can still get most of the money in. But say, for example, you were 3,000 deep. I think I would definitely put in the extra bet. So it sounds to me like you called.
Yeah, I just call.
Yep.
Turn is the 5 of spades, so it's putting another flush draw out there.
Okay, so now backdoor spades are out there. Yep.
And it still doesn't change the hand. I still have the nuts. And he leads out for 100 again.
So somebody in the live chat said that they're confused about the action order. The only time that anything is going on wanky here is pre-flop. The main villain is under the gun. So again, Peter's got 9-10 off, completing pre-flop on the button to his straddle. He had last action, and the board came out Queen 8 Jack with 2 clubs. Check, under the gun, bet 15. Peter button to 50. Small blind folds, under the gun. The pre-flop raiser min clicks it to 100. Hero calls on the button with the nuts. Pot's like 250-ish. The turn is the 5 of spades, so it's Queen of spades, 8 of clubs, Jack of clubs, 5 of spades. Now under the gun follows up with the same bet. So now at this point, if you call, the pot is going to be 450, and it looks like he would have like 550 left, I want to say, something like that. So yeah. I think I got to start putting some money. I got to start putting some money in the pot here.
Yeah, so I was really, it took me a little bit to kind of think of what raise sizing I could. I thought like kind of all in right here would be kind of gross and a little too much.
Yeah.
But I just went with like the standard 3X and just made it 300.
So I don't know if you need to make it that big, to be honest with you. I mean, if you just went to like 250, if you went to 250 and he called, the pot would be like 750 and he'd have like 400 left. Yeah, I might just go to like 275. Yeah, 250 to 275. I mean, it's probably pretty close. So you raised to 300, okay.
He calls.
So UTG calls, and now we are dealing with what looks like a pot of 850, and it looks like he's got what, like 350 to 400 left, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's like 350 something.
Yeah.
River's the queen of clubs.
River's the queen of clubs. So queen of spades, 8 of clubs, Jack of clubs, 5 of spades, and now the river's the queen of clubs. And let me guess, he shoves.
Yeah, he just did the one chip. I didn't hear him say all in at all. He just threw in one white chip, and the dealer just automatically threw out the all in button. And I was like, wait, did he say all in, or did you just assume that he was like all in by just throwing one white chip in?
Right.
And I was just like, I think that's what kind of like clouded my judgment too.
So wait a minute, that's actually a really good move.
Well,
that's a really good move, by the way. I mean, if you've watched some of the stuff that we've talked about that's happened recently with some of these call-in hands, where there was a hand from a few weeks ago where the guy who called in, the hero, had the nuts on the river, and then he thought his opponent moved all in because the guy next to his opponent said all in, who wasn't even in the hand. and the dealer put the all-in button out. So the hero basically snap called, turned his hand over, and then the under the gun guy whose action it was on the river said, "Oh, I didn't do anything." So whenever there's any type of ambiguity, and again, this sort of goes back to the Ryan Feldman Armenian Mike thing too. Obviously, you don't have the nuts here, but one of the more common situations that happens is that somebody gets so excited when somebody moves all in into them, and you have the nuts. You, as the hero, hold the nuts. They get really excited. They snap call, and it opens up the chance for some sort of angling where the guy says he didn't do all in. So whenever there is any type of ambiguity, like here, where you didn't hear the guy say all in, now the dealer put the disc in, you just put out one chip, I would do exactly the same that you did. I would clarify, is the guy all in? And even if the dealer said, yes, he's all in, I would then ask the other guy, I'd wave at him and I said, are you all in? You know what I mean? I'm serious. Like I mean, that's what I would do because the dealer saying all in doesn't mean anything. That's obvious.
Yeah.
We've seen that. Dealer buttons of all in, dealer saying that somebody did something, it doesn't mean anything. So you got confirmation from the dealer or what?
Yeah, confirmation from the dealer. I was just, it was such a weird spot. Like, this is probably like the first time where I've literally never heard the person say all in. And it's basically like the same thing. Like, when people move all in, they never put any chips out. I'm probably the only one that probably puts big chips out into the pot or over the bet line. And it's most of the time people will throw in like one grade chip. So, I mean, it's pretty standard for that way to move the rest all in. But so it was how quickly he did it.
So are you in a situation where you're confident that the bet is all in, or are you confused at this point?
No, I'm confident that the bet is all in. I'm at the decision point. It's like, did this guy just, like, what can I beat at this point? Like, all the houses get there, a flush gets there.
Well, here's the thing that I would think
for both.
Here's the thing that I would go through that I would sort of go through my head is that, I mean, especially if he only has like 350 to 400 left, you're going to be getting 3-1 here, right? And you have a straight, so you only have to be good 1 out of 4 times. The line itself is so strange with both hands that beat you, meaning that, so you lose to a front door flush, and you also lose to a boat. It's so strange for me to see a guy basically min-bet, 3-bet the flop with either of those hands, meaning that we're scared of, jacks full, queen jack, whatever it is, and we're scared of nut flush. He's going to, remember, there are 2 actions here. Min 3-bet the flop to your raise with a set, just min 3-bet it, followed up by a min bet on the turn when the turn's a blank. Would somebody be doing that when they're protecting a set or 2 pair? I think that's out the window. And then when you look at club draws, he's trying to add max fold equity. He's going to min 3-bet the flop and then make the same bet on the turn after you raise the flop. I don't buy it. Not only are we getting a good price and we only have to be good 1 out of 4 times, it just doesn't make any. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that he has a full house or a flusher, to the point where, like, I even feel like if I was getting a price of 1-1, I would call. So, I mean, for me, I would call. What ended up happening?
I folded.
Did you find out what he had?
No, and I think I kind of like folded with my hand and I kind of flipped it up, and the guy in the small blind was like, "Oh no, that's good fold. You're never beating anything there," and just like me not being able to run it all the way back to pre-flop, I guess, in the moment, in the hand when I was tanking, I think I probably would have called 2 because he would have overplayed kings or aces, I guess, that same way, which he still has all of those. But the way that the whole hand was played, I should have just gave him the rest of the 300 if he had the boat.
Yeah, but I mean, the only thing about that's kind of weird is, do you think he's turning kings or aces into a bluff on the river? I mean, what are you raising the flop with? If you have a flush draw, you hit. If you have a queen, you have trips. So I'm not sure about that in that case. But I guess I guess it's, put it this way, like, this is going to be way more of a front door flush than a boat. I mean, I guess I could maybe get on board where he sort of stopped betting the turn to, like, give himself a price with like ace king of clubs. It's just really, or ace 10 of clubs. It's just really bizarre.
No, he can't. I think I have. Did I have the 10 of clubs or did I have the 9 of clubs? One of the two.
You have the 9 of clubs. Well, you said that you had the 9 of clubs.
Yeah,
but I mean, you know what I mean? Like some sort of combo draw. King 10 of clubs, whatever it is, ace king of clubs, ace 10 of clubs. The whole line is very, very bizarre. But I will say that, I think that at least you clarified it, though. You know what I mean? Don't leave it up to the dealer. But I appreciate
that was probably the most important.
If you like what you've seen here, please hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this call-in hand, hit the like button down below. To check out crushlivepoker.com, click on the link in the description. Use the code YTA300 to get the first 30 days for free.